All right, let's go to Bobby from Boyertown, Pennsylvania. Also watches on YouTube, the New Life Live YouTube channel. Hi there, Bobby. How are you?
I'm doing well. How about you, sir?
Well, I'm doing okay today. Now, how could we help you? Because we want to.
Well, I hope you can. 7 years ago at Christmas time, my wife at that time told me she didn't love me and that I was a no good, lousy parent, horrible husband, all the bad things, that derogatory things that go with it.
Mm-hmm.
And so since then, I don't celebrate Christmas and very depressed about it. And I tried to reconcile the marriage. I wanted to do the Love Dare book from the movie Fireproof. And she said, I don't love you. You can do anything you want under the sun, and it's not going to matter. So there it is.
So, are you divorced now?
We're finalizing everything right now. It's just a financial thing that has to come, but pretty much, yeah.
And do you live in separate homes now, Bobby?
Yes.
So
I moved out 7 years ago.
let me ask you this. Were you a horrible father and a lousy husband like she said?
Well, I was abused as a child mentally, and I believe everything that people tell me about me. But no, I have two sons, and we're best friends. We hang out a lot. One has one of my hobbies, the other one has the other hobby, and
Okay.
so I
So-
think I did okay.
When I hear that you have two sons and you use that term best friend, it seems like to me that's a really good indicator that you were not only a good enough dad, but a good dad. Now, let me tell you the worst idea in the world is live your life based on some lie that somebody tells you. Experience pain based on a lie that somebody tells you. And not experience wonder, joy, and delight because of a lie that someone told you. That's a horrible, horrible idea. And that's what you're doing. She should not have any influence over your life. And right now, it's so strong, you're not celebrating Christmas. Your sons, I bet, would be delighted to celebrate Christmas with you. When we come back, we're going to hear from Alice and Mark what they think might be the best path for you. So glad that you called. We're grateful for every caller. 1-800-229-3000. These are tough times. And when you need a direction, a redirection, or some help, it's not a sign of weakness. It's a sign of being aware of how tough the times are. And we want to help you. 1-800-229-3000. We'll take this break, and we'll come back to Bobby after this. We are back. We're talking with Bobby. And just curious, let's start with you, Mark, and then talk to you, Alice. What do you have for Bobby?
Yeah, so one thing, Bobby, I just wanted to check in with you. What work have you done since then, since you and your wife did separate?
I wanted to go to, or we did go to the pastor of the church at that time to try to get things reconciled, but she fought it. And so to help me move on, I joined a divorce care group, and
good.
That really helped me a lot.
Yeah, that's something actually I had just written down here that I was going to suggest to you, and it sounds like you've done that already. I would also suggest going to therapy if you haven't done that yet. I really think, when we have these losses, we need to kind of process through and figure out what went wrong, figure out what our part in the breakdown of these things were, and oftentimes we can see that there's deeper patterns there that go back even beyond our marriages here. The one thing that I do want to encourage you, and Steve did already, is that the brain works by association. So it makes sense that if she told you 7 years ago, all these things about you. And again, you've been conditioned to believe, these things through the mental abuse in your childhood, right? So now on Christmas, you have this association with, those words and those feelings, but those can be redeemed. And so, I encourage you to try and redeem that. You've got kids, and I'm not sure how old they are, but whatever age, you can still try and redeem that and enjoy a different time. And just as you create those new memories, I think some of those will start to override those old depressive memories and feelings that you have.
Alice?
Bobby, as humans, we are drawn to what's familiar even when it's painful. And so a lot of us marry people who have similar poor characteristics to our parents. And so if my parents were alcoholic, I might actually be drawn into relationship with alcoholics. And it's a subconscious draw, but it often happens. Do you think that your wife was generally harsh and critical?
Oh, but all through the marriage?
In general, yes.
She was very opinionated. It was her way or no way.
So consider that there may have been that similarity between your wife and your parents. And as we're given messages about ourselves, we have to evaluate the source. Is this a loving, kind, trustworthy source who has my best interests in mind? Or is this a person who has a pattern of a vendetta against me and of mistreating me? And if that was the case with your wife, especially in the final years of marriage, it may be that the source of that message that you're a horrible person is a very unreliable source, not someone you can or should trust. But we always have to look for, was there a sliver of truth? Because of course I'm an imperfect spouse. And so I did things that hurt my spouse and that hurt my children. And I have to own what is imperfect about me and work on that. But when you've been told lies about yourself, you have to both identify them, rebuke and fight against them, and then replace them with truth from people who love you and care about you and with whom you surround yourself now. So if you took both of those things and you told us one of your imperfections as a husband, but also one of the truths about the good husband, the good version of the husband you were, what would you say on both accounts?
I guess a good thing was I tried to teach them Christian life growing up.
There you go.
I listened to Dr. Dobson a lot.
There you are.
And I guess the worst thing was I worked a lot to pay for a house, and I guess I wasn't always there for them. I don't know.
Were you a workaholic at times, Bobby?
Well, I had to be.
Yeah. It's a very confusing pattern that I see in a lot of families, that the provider of the family who just dedicates themselves to their work to provide financially well for their family, it often goes unappreciated. And so do evaluate whether or not there was a missing emotional component to what you gave to your wife. It sounds like you did better with your boys. There's a stronger connection there. But financial provision, as much as it's needed, it's insufficient. There needs to be an emotional provision as well. But when you grew up in a home like yours, you may have had few skills to do so. And so that is that area of imperfection that you might continue to work on in order to build up into the man you fully want to be, in the success you've had with your boys, but it may have been lacking with your wife. But then consider the source and separate yourself from falsehoods that were given to you by your parents and your wife about who you are.
And let me just make this really clear. You might have not been emotionally connected, but there are a lot of men that are emotionally abusive and their wife didn't leave. So I want to be sure you don't think that you created the divorce. That was her choice. And it sounds like to me there's some really great things about you, and I talk to people all the time. I can't find anything great, and you've got some great things. And don't, Jesus said, don't look at the little nitpicky things and miss the big stuff. And the big stuff is God loves you, wants you to be free from any kind, whether it's from her or your parents, any kind of emotional abuse or mistreatment. And we want that for you too. I'm going to send you Take Your Life Back, and Healing is a Choice.